Welcome to episode 2 of the podcast Entrepreneurs S.O.S. with your hosts Sandy Colling and Monique Mall. And today we're going to talk to you about our 5 top tips for time management. The first tip is going to be on tracking your time, or as Monique calls it, auditing your time.
Yeah, so auditing your time. And I know that you are a big fan of the exercise that I'm about to talk about. So there's this really cool exercise we have, and you'll see the exercise in the show notes. I highly suggest that you check out our time tracker toolkit, and it's all about auditing your time. When you audit your time, you basically ask yourself, what am I using my time for? I don't know about you, Sandy, but I don't always audit my time. And TikTok is like right now my biggest time suck. I get stuck in that scroll hole for like nobody's business. I have actually had to set a timer at this point because I can go like an hour will go by like that. And I won't even know that I've been on TikTok for an hour.
Well, and that's the good part, right? So setting that timer, that actually goes into our second topic is really, tracking your time, but also prioritizing. So I actually like to reward myself sometimes with watching the doggy or the dachshund. I'm a dachshund fan, by the way, or the horse videos. And you're right, time can just get sucked away so quickly. And then the day is gone, and we're like, we wanted to get 100 things done and we got one thing done. I know that's been the case for me in the past. So I really love this tool. But what about prioritizing your time? Working on those non-negotiables first, right?
Yeah, I remember someone explained to me time blocking. You need to time block. I didn't even know what time blocking meant, right? Because my brain didn't need that. I just time blocked naturally. And I was like, oh, there's an actual thing called time blocking. I was like, oh, okay. And I learned, like you said, you look at your non-negotiables. What are things that you just can't not do? You have to pick up your kid from school. You have to pick up your kid from school. You have to go to work. You have to go to work. You have to go to the doctor's appointment because that's non-negotiable that day. Really looking at your day and saying, what are things that I cannot miss? What are the things that are non-negotiable in your life or non-negotiable for your day to get done what needs to get done in your day? And then you move to things you want to get done, right? And that's always interesting because now you have to understand it. You have to choose, what do
And
I want to do
prioritize,
today?
right?
Yeah,
Prioritize. So
prioritize.
I'd kind of rather do this, but I really need to do this. So
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, it's like I should go to the gym. Is that a non-negotiable? It's not really a non-negotiable, but it's a thing that I want to do. So I'm going to schedule it in my day, as the second tier of what's important to me. And that goes back to what's important to you and what your intentions are. And then lastly, it's what you don't really need to do. Like there are things that we just don't need to do.
right,
And we act like we do.
right. Well,
you know, like the house can get vacuumed
depends.
next
Yeah.
week, right? It's not the end of the world.
Especially if you have dogs running around. So staying committed to it, right? Staying committed. We learned something at a effectiveness seminar. He talked about the ladder of commitment. And Monique, I know it was really, really, really eye-opening for you, right?
Sandy, I always thought I was committed. And then I saw that ladder of commitment. This was a seminar that Sandy and I were both at a couple of weeks ago in California, in Sacramento. And it was with a gentleman named George who I've seen a lot of personal development people, but what I loved is he just made it very practical. And when I looked at the ladder of commitment, it just really made me go, damn it. Am I really, really committed or am I just sort of trying? I mean, there were some areas in my life I felt like, oh my God, I want to do it, but I'm not really committed. Right. And then there were other areas where I was like, there was part of the ladder that said unless until. And then I was like, oh, that one really hit inside because it was like, well, I'll do this until. I'll work out until, that made me take a step back and look at my business, my health, my relationship and say, wow, how am I really showing up in those areas of my life? And am I 100% committed? And when you really understand the gravity of being 100% committed, you're like, it's like there's no excuses. You just do it. Doesn't
And it takes
matter.
it to a whole new level. It really does. It's very eye-opening. And we can go into that a little more. Maybe we can even have George on a podcast sometime
I
because he's a
think that would be
master.
amazing.
Yeah,
He would be
he's a
so great to just talk about that
yes.
area. I think
Yep.
people, when you really see that little simple thing, it's like, oh my God, it's life changing when you really just hit it,
Right. Right. So
Yeah.
number four is routine. And I can speak a little bit to that because
Yeah, because you're
routine,
way better at it, Sandy, than I am.
well, because I'm more boring than you. I'm not the fun one in the thing. I'm just super boring. I have my routine and I never go anywhere. So I do. I have a routine and, it works for me because not to say that every day is the same, although I do start my morning the same pretty much every day. And I have dogs and they kind of force me into it because they want to be fed and they want to go for a walk. But other things that need to happen too for me to set my day up for success. Doesn't mean that works for everybody, but the routine allows me to flow through the day with ease. And now, do sometimes things happen that weren't on the schedule? Absolutely. And I'm good at pivoting and being flexible, but the routine really gives me and focus on how the day is going to unfold.
Question, because you're
Yeah.
so good at this and it's not something that I actually am really good at. I kind of waft around. What might be really helpful for our listeners? How did you like get into a routine and stick to it? Like tip for someone to know, how do I actually set a routine and stick with it?
So, like everything in life, right? It's building the habit. And how long does it take to build a habit? So, definitely doesn't just happen overnight. But what I do is the evening before, I set my schedule for the next day. It always starts the same way. The first few hours are always the same. It's just in my schedule, it's in my time blocking, and I do time block with the color code. And then the night before, I schedule my day the next day and I stick to it and I stick to the routine. And I know, for example, I go to the gym every other day. And so, other day, I have it in my calendar and then just really sticking to it. And if I do fall off one day, or not like the world's coming to an end, you just go back to it. And eventually, it literally becomes a habit.
That's great. That's the last tip we decided on. We decided on consistency,
Yep.
correct?
Hmm.
So should we talk about the consistency chain?
I think it's great. I absolutely do.
So a while back when we were heavy into the network marketing world and we were really pushing our businesses, we were part of a really large team and we read this book called The Consistency Chain. We'll actually link it below. So if you want to pick it up on Amazon, you can, because I highly suggest that if you struggle with routine and consistency, that book is going to be a big eye opener. So to give you a little synopsis on the book, it was two guys. One was really successful, one wasn't. And at the end of the day, what they really understood was that it was all about consistency. And they created something called the consistency chain, which basically I think is a brilliant strategy. So you're part of a larger group and you pick a task. We all had to prospect or connect with or ask one person a day if they were interested in our services. The part that is the catch is that you check in every day. And if you don't, then that we have to start over from day one. So you set it for a certain amount of time. So like 30 days, we're going to do this. Well, if one person in the group doesn't do the task, then the whole group has to start over on day one. So I think what the brilliance of that is that a lot of times, I don't know about you guys, I won't show up for me. Sandy, do you ever notice that? Like you will show up more for
For
other people
others.
in your life. Like,
Absolutely.
let's face it, we will do so much more for other people. So when you involve an accountability, a commitment, and then the need to do it for other people, it really pushes you to be consistent. You know, maybe you have girlfriends that are all entrepreneurs and you all want to write emails every week and you're not good at it. You could create a pod and just call it the email pod. And did you write your email this week? And when one person doesn't, then everybody's like, oh, now we got to start over for, we were on week 8. And now we're back on week 1. So I love that book and I love the theory of it. It for me was super beneficial and I showed up every day.
And for me too, so it all started, talking about, the routine. It started the consistency with going to the gym because I have a Peloton and I like it, but sometimes it's nice to go to a gym. So my boyfriend and I go to the gym and we go every other day. And it's like, I don't want to let you down. He doesn't want to let me down. So it's like, and I'm like, you sure you want to go? Well, I'm going for you. Like, but it does.
Couch looks really good, honey.
So it's like really, it truly is in the consist. And again, it's building that muscle. And once you get through it, it makes all the difference in the world. So yeah, so that's tip number 5.
I love it. I love it. So you
Yep.
guys, these are our top 5. And at the end of the day, Sandy and I love to use the term, it's not time management, it's me management.
Hmm.
So just remember that you're not managing your time, you're managing yourself around your time.
We all have 24 hours, right? And if we work an 8 hour job and if we sleep 8 hours, there's still 8 hours. Now, of course, you have to cook and take the kids and whatnot, but there is always time left over. So find our tracker in the comments below. We're going to link the book, The Consistency Chain. If you feel that this resonated, you can follow us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as our podcast. We're a Facebook group with some great valuable information in there, tips and tricks how to really set you up for success. And we'll see you on episode 3.
Take care, guys.